Uh, DoodleDangWang. Welcome to Nest Station's Early Bird Diner. Putting aside my space waffles for the moment for something a bit more girthy, presenting the Wang! The Wang is a ship I built last year, meant as the spiritual successor to Mingler 1. So, to properly explain the Wang, I first should briefly tell you about Mingler 1. That's the ship over here. Mingler 1 was a large grid home away from home support vessel built during the Space Mingler series. It served its purpose well, and there were no major gripes during its service on that series. Bringing it into the light, though, of current build trends, newer block availability, and a few years more of build experience, I thought it time to build a better ship. To start, we need to establish what Mingler 1's baseline ship is, and then identify elements to fix or improve. Mingler 1 was built to accommodate a crew of 6, so that's 6 places to sit in the command area and 6 cryopods, mostly for role-playing purposes, honestly. It had full Atmo and space movement, but only on Hydro, and it had 2 jump drives, so for whatever reason we didn't have ion thrusters on this one back in the day. The ship had on board a refinery, assembler, medic system, O2 hydro tanks and generators, large inventory capacity. It had a small drill for independent drill options, has an internal and external landing bay for small craft, and can accommodate large craft on top, and the ship can lift and transport up to twice its own weight. As for combat, it is reasonable for support purposes with 4 GATs and a missile turret, all weld-backed. As for drawbacks, the thrusters are not integrated into the body of the ship, nor are armored in any way, something Creek did first in our group with Big Bass. Regarding combat, the cockpit should not be that far forward as it's the first bit enemies will target, so that should be moved back. This is the nature of why that there is this armor scoop on the front of it, something we retrofitted on during that series. And a small roleplay gripe is that there's no foot access to get on the ship without using a jetpack. Super minor, but it's an aesthetic I enjoy on modern ships I work on. With that established, let's hop over to the Wang and see how it turned out. First off, requirements. Here are all the DLCs used on this. Basically all of them, just not Style, Econ, or Signal. And there were mods on this, just the Great Mover, the fancy chairs, and Flat Door. All of this is listed and linked in the description for your convenience. By the way, anything else I'm using in this vid like speed alts and thruster effects, etc. are just client-side fluff. You aren't required to have any of that to operate this ship. First thing I do on these bigger ships these days is I start with the spine, which allows me to arrange the big structures earlier and also to solve that first issue of integrated thrusters. With this ship, I did elect to go with variable thruster direction, but manually controlled, so no variable vector scripts on this. This was also the point that allowed me to more easily troubleshoot proper fold-up landing gears. I struggled with hinges on Mingler 1 and always regretted being unable to have fold-up landing gears on that one, so I was quite ecstatic to have the function here. The integration also allows for decent height dropping, which is still decent once it hits full weight. Once the big items were in, I worked on general understanding of where rooms would go. Understanding that the bridge would be in the back somewhere meant that the hangar had to be in the front, so opposite Mingler 1. All other rooms just got built up in the cracks with provisions for airtight corridors for the most part. All built, let's go over the comparison with Mingler 1's requirements. Full Atmo, Hydro, and now ion thrusters for full Atmo and space travel. Full refinery, assembler, 2 jump drives, and a medic spawn options on board. We have the 6 crew seats if you count the engineering seat. We have the 6 cryopods and 6 beds. We have integrated drill, though tucked away neatly into the ceiling of the lower bay. The ship has small and large connection points, both internal and external, and can haul at least up to its own weight in additional cargo. As for the improvement conditions, all thrusters are reasonably integrated into the body with fair armor coverage. The main bridge is in the back as to not initially be targeted, as well as decoys integrated into the nacelles. Full retractable landing gears with a lower retractable walk-on ramp, so no jetpack is needed here. With the landing gears retractable, I added a retractable maglock option to supplement for the lack of traditional landing gears. For space or mid-flight boarding, I opted for an extendable rear access entrance. Lastly, I'll go over the feature additions, things that make this ship unique. First off, the multi-vector thrusters options allows for a reduction of weight of the quantity of thrusters it takes to achieve this level of thrust performance. Nestled in the lower hangar bay is the dedicated escape pod, the Drop Doodle. This one also has seating for 6, has basic Atmo and space versatility, and can be auto-launched from the bay console. I mentioned the drill earlier. This whole coil can be unfolded with one button. One drop doodle is moved out of the way, of course. It's small grid, but does the job in a pinch. Also, it can be retracted with one button, which is very nice. Due to the height and my hatred of the slow Spengy's ladders, I put in a 3-floor elevator. Using Easy Automation script, this will stop on and can be called from each of the 3 main floors. The 4 additional topside turrets can be deployed with one button, but more interestingly is regardless of their alignment, they can be folded back to their original position again using the magic of Easy Automation. There's a fold-out solar tracker on the front of the ship that will track the sun in flight. A script that works well along with this is the auto-leveler that will keep the ship level to the planetary gravity, something that can be further coupled with the auto-flight configuration to allow point-to-point flight without a pilot in the seat. Some of the more ordinary additions are the auto-closing door script, auto-LCD2 scripts, and simple scripts from Whip and Endmaster, which are generally standard on all my ships. Something a lot less common is I put a missile printer on the ship. It pops out the side, prints up the missile, shoots out the block connector, because of course it does, and away it goes. Last relevant fun thing of note is I hid these 3 button panels somewhere on the ship. If you find and press each one, a 60-second countdown starts that culminates in you maybe getting a puppy.
Speak. French. Good boy.
With all this, you'd think it was a flawless ship, but alas there are some goofy things. The elevator doesn't stop perfectly on each floor, which is due to a rounding issue for me grouping the pistons instead of listing them one by one in the scripting layout. The solar tracker is set to fold out with one button press, but not fold back with one button press cleanly, meaning you need to reset it manually. The printed missile needs to be within 500 meters of a target or it'll fall over limp in an unimpressive performance. All of these are not insane issues, but are more just last-second laziness on my part or a whimsical challenge for the community. You decide. So, all in all, what's the punchline? The Wang is an excellent benchmark for me personally, showcasing my growth on shipbuilding, and I am quite proud of the results. For you all, though, the design falls somewhere in the middle, I think. Better than a Fisher-Price My First Spengy ship, but nowhere near the level of, say, Sever's ship designs like the one I did in the last vid. For you all, what you could get out of this is the culmination of some advanced or clever scripting, large to small grid examples both on vanity and functional, suspension designs for the gears, and how to maximize limited interior spacing. Just don't stare at my Wang. It feels awkward. Thank you all for stopping by. Links for the mods and scripts are in the description. Please let me know if you have any questions or comments. And as always, thank you all for stopping by.